Assalamu alaikum, Farhana. How
Hi,
are you?
Walaikum Salam. Walaikum Salam, Farhan. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, Alhamdulillah. Thanks for asking. So, tell us about yourself. Where do you work? About your education and all?
Farhan, I actually am working at LUMS. I hope you've heard of it, the Lahore University of Management Sciences. As a teaching fellow, I teach writing and communication, and I've been working there for the past 10 years now. And it has been a decade, come to think of it, yes. And I've come across. And my qualifications, I've recently finished um an MSc in Applied Linguistics for Language Teaching from the University of Oxford. Before that, I have
Amazing.
already done an MPhil in ELT, English Language Teaching, that is, and my bachelor's surprisingly is in architecture from National College of Arts. So quite, I changed my, I diverted my field from architecture to language teaching.
And what could be the reason of this diversion?
Oh, all right. You could say that English has or language has always been my first love, so to say. So this happened. The moment I got my bachelor's, I got married, and then my husband is in the government sector. He had to get posted at different places, and that to remote areas, and they hadn't heard of. Engineers, I mean, architects, they have no clue what architects are. They would say, oh, engineer, it's just an engineer. And that too, I think that was a couple of decades ago, like 20 years back. And that too, a woman being an architect was a rarity, a complete dilemma for them. And working in remote areas, you can imagine you couldn't get anything. So I
True.
thought once we settled down in Lahore, it had been quite some time, and I had on top of it, of course, the responsibility of raising my kids. I have three kids, mashallah. They're grown up now, but once
Mashallah.
I sent my third one to school, I decided I had to do something because I, for one, am a person who couldn't stay at home and do nothing and just be a simple homemaker. So I'm not taking anything away from homemakers. I totally salute them because it requires a lot of
Yeah,
dedication.
even they are
Because
doing
I
a
have been
marvelous
one,
job.
I am still one. All right, that
True.
part of it you cannot take out from your personality or your. That's one of my job descriptions, so to say, and it's a major one. All right, so I had to pursue something. So I started first of all teaching. I started teaching, and I kind of liked it because it also suited my timings. Plus, I started off teaching as an art teacher. That I didn't like. That I didn't like because children, yes, they loved art, but teaching art because art, as a subject is not felt important enough or is not significant enough in our curriculum, in any school for that matter. It is always the art period which is being completely either taken up or substituted. If any of the teachers need an extra period, either it is sports which is absorbed or it is arts which is absorbed. So these I mean, art especially was a subject which was not taken seriously. Plus I thought might as well. Then I started thinking, and I always had, as I told you, I've always had a liking for language. So I got enrolled in a postgraduate diploma core program that was taking place in FCU, Foreman Christian University,
Yeah.
and I had a ball there. I That was a 1 year diploma. I topped that course. I got a perfect CGPA of 3.88. I mean, that was high, considering that I was actually competing with the veterans of the game. These were professors. These were lecturers who had already been teaching in the field for about a decade or even more. And I topped that course. I was amongst them, and my peers were quite qualified teachers. So
Hmm.
I that really gave me a lot of incentive, and that really pushed me to pursue it as a career. So I thought
Amazing.
I have it in me that I can do it. So then I enrolled myself into the MPhil course again in English language teaching at Kinnaird College, KC.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is I was already an alumni because I had done my intermediate from Kinnaird.
All right.
So I really liked the college, and I did my MPhil in ELT. That was a couple of years.
Hmm.
That's a 2 year program, and then the moment I got my, I once I got done with my MPhil, I
Hmm.
started teaching at LGS, and the moment I got my result, I resigned, and that was very sudden. The
Hmm.
principal said, "Why did you resign?" Because I have got my result now. There's no stopping me, and I started applying at various universities. I had already landed with a job at Park Ames. That was not a very big institute, but that was the starting point, the
Hmm.
stepping stone, first stepping stone when I, embarked upon the journey of teaching at a tertiary level. That I
All right.
really liked because
Hmm.
now I was dealing with children or students who were, much mature as
Hmm.
compared to obviously students at the primary or the secondary. Because I was teaching at LGS at the secondary level, I didn't find it very appealing. So
Hmm.
I went on to teach. Then I got into tertiary, and then from there onwards, and then I taught at UCP, then BNU, and then finally I landed at LUMS. So that was my final goal, and ever ever since then I've been teaching at LUMS.
That's
It has
marvelous.
been a decade now.
Hmm.
So that's
Amazing.
my journey. That's my journey so far.
That's great. That's great.
And then recently, I have done my master's in uh, applied linguistics for language teaching because, again, I think you cannot stop studying till your
Yeah, true.
deathbed, I guess.
You.
And
Hmm.
my family says you are crazy. I mean, why are you putting yourself through? Because I was studying as well as teaching full time at LUMS. That was really really hard. Perhaps that's why I have lost my my eyesight has gone so
Oh.
it has been affected so
Hmm.
badly
That's a
because of
marvelous thing that you have done, and you are an industrious person now that we can imagine. We can feel that from your story, from your words, everything that you're saying. Like you were a full-time teacher at LUMS, and plus you were doing your own master's degree. It's really a hard nut to crack. It's not easy. We can understand that easily.
exactly, and that too from the University of Oxford. They give you
Hmm.
50 pages of readings and then they tell you to critically analyze it in just 250 words, and that's not an easy task.
True, true, true.
It's really really hard to write shorter,
Hmm.
you know, shorter essays or shorter paragraphs than to write lengthy essays. It's
Indeed,
really hard
indeed,
to write
indeed. Hmm.
shorter versions.
All right. So Farhana, just as you were saying in the beginning that you had already liked this English language to be specific. So what exactly
Mhm.
was there? What was something that had caught your fancy that English is my thing? I want to work on it. I want to teach communication and
Okay,
writing.
then I'll have to go back in time to my childhood and then explain why it actually sparked my interest. I had always been an avid reader,
All right.
reading either reading fiction, literary stuff, or any other thing. I would read myself to sleep. All right, in our
Hmm.
child, we
Hmm.
didn't have any internet or back then. Of course, these devices or gadgets were not around. We
Hmm.
were supposed to not supposed to read, but I loved to read, and we were given books or we were yes I was we had only one channel. You didn't have so many channels back then either,
Hmm.
and then that was PTV.
True.
And also English. Why English? I would say because my childhood has been spent abroad, that too in
Hmm.
Nigeria.
Hmm.
My father got a job there. He's an engineer, so he landed with a job in Nigeria, and we lived there for 8 years. That
Hmm.
was my entire. primary schooling, and up
Hmm.
till O levels, I was there.
All right.
So I haven't studied, though that is not a proud thing to say. I haven't studied Urdu as a language, but I
Hmm.
can speak it. I can converse in it very well. I can
Good.
speak now. I can speak Punjabi even because it's need based. Language is always need based.
Hmm.
Now that I've learned so much, I'm a
Good.
linguistics person. So language is always need based. Otherwise, it dies out. So whenever you need to speak, whenever you need to communicate, you need to learn a language, right?
Hmm.
So there, they didn't have Urdu as in, though we spoke, my parents used to speak us, speak to us in Urdu or Punjabi, or so I can converse in it very well. I'm quite fluent in, but I cannot read it that well. I now I can, because with my kids, when I was trying to teach them, they were born here. Obviously, they had to study Urdu, so I used to study their course first and then teach them.
Hmm.
There was no other way out. But even now, I can't read it that much. I can read
All right.
the printed version, but the written version is very hard for me.
Hmm.
Handwritten Urdu,
Yeah.
it's really hard for me to read.
Hmm.
So therefore, the affiliation with English language is perhaps
That's great.
that's
Okay.
what I
Now,
can say is perhaps the reason why I stuck to it.
hmm. All right. Farhana, just as you said, like these were the reasons that you got into the English thing. But as we see our
Hmm.
students nowadays, they are really confused because of the language. Because when they go to schools, colleges, so either they are supposed to speak in English or not. The teachers are speaking in English or not. And there are so many different educational systems available in this one country. But when they jump into the marketplace, they expect they should only communicate in English. So how do you see? Is it? What students should do? Because there are people who are telling that Urdu is our national language and we should not work on it. And there are people who take it like even though Urdu is a national language, but still English is an international language. So we have to take ourselves at an international level. What's your perception about learning a language for the students? And how they're dealing with that and why they are so confused.
The perception. Okay, all right, yes. I think it's the dilemma of the present student body. It is
Hmm.
indeed, they should be confused, because we are constantly, especially parents are constantly pestering them to speak in English.
Hmm.
Not at home. So, no, at home also, some parents do indeed
Yeah, true.
insist on speaking in English, especially in the English medium schools which they are enrolled into. They are in some places. At some places, I've seen that they're even fined for speaking in their
Hmm.
native languages. I mean, that is extremely odd, but they should be fined. But yes, the reason why, I think it's a dilemma. It's why we are facing this dilemma, because we, being a colonial country or a colonial state, we have
Hmm.
been a colony, and English has been passed on down to us through we being colonized, and it's
Hmm.
not going anywhere soon, because it has become the lingua franca. All right,
Hmm.
and it has globalized the world. It has joined, or it has made the world into a global village.
Hmm.
So keeping that in mind, I think English is not going anywhere anytime soon. Urdu, yes, I believe it is, and I sadly say it, it is a dying language. We need to do really something. We need to preserve that language. As I know it's not a mother tongue for most of it, but as a language itself, we should preserve it. It's a very,
Hmm.
very rich language. I mean, we should do something about it. We may not, because we cannot make students converse with it, of course, but at least people have started, these English medium schools, they have started offering easy Urdu instead of the real Urdu, which I mean the normal Urdu version, which they were supposed to. My eldest, she did her that Urdu major paper in O level. She took that Urdu one, and then both of my younger ones, I've got three kids,
Hmm.
mashallah, and
That's
my
good.
sons, they're younger. They both were offered easy Urdu. I mean, why is that? I always thought they should also be offered. They should be given a chance to study Urdu as a language. So easy Urdu is hardly anything. but conversing in the basic grammar and the grammatics,
mm,
but they're not touching literature at all right, and
mm,
it's so rich. Okay, the dilemma again which the students are facing is because of this, multiple educational systems which are going on in
mm,
Pakistan, and that too because of the divide which has been created by the status and by the socio-economic, you know, disparity which exists
mm,
in Pakistan. And it's
mm,
very blatant. It's extremely blatant that we cannot get rid of it unless and until we offer free education to all. And that too, of course, there's this three type of, it's a trio. There are three type of systems which are running in parallel. The
mm,
first one being the public sector schools, the government schools. The second one being the private schools, of course. And those private schools do not even concur together. They have all sorts of different curriculums.
categories, true.
I mean, every sort of, they have their own monopoly. They have their own mindset. Whatever they feel like, they start
Love
following that.
doing it,
So there's
true.
no standardization at all.
Mm, mm,
And plus, then the third one, which is meant for the most underprivileged classes, that caters to the lowest underprivileged classes, the madrasa system. That's another horror which we have heard about and are and I think we are aware of because of the news and otherwise also. Look at the horrors they inflict on their pupils. I mean, so therefore, what happens is uh, these students from the public sector, government schools, and the students from the private schools, or if not, even if these students from the schools who are English medium, yet they are not giving offering O levels to their their high schoolers. They're
mm,
doing metric system, or their matriculation board. They're following that.
mm,
That again creates another divide. All right.
true.
So people, once they come to the tertiary level, because I, for one, teach the freshmen, and I have
Mm,
seen their dilemma. They have to go. They are literally stressed out. The students who come from FSC or intermediate background, though they are extremely bright, intelligent students, because
mm,
they have never been taught or never been made to speak in the class ever before. They're just they rote learn because of the curriculum they have to follow. It's all about regurgitating whatever you've rote learned and just vomiting it out on the in the exams, and that's it. They're never,
mm,
their critical thinking skills are never they've never been raised, or they have never been questioned. All
mm,
right. So they resort to rote learning. It's always easier to, because and they're required to rote learn. I mean, there are
true.
horrific stories of how they actually decorate their papers, and the examiners only check their papers through the length of the question and not looking at the content of the question. I mean,
Mm,
all these divides have created the disparity and the confusion and the complete chaos which exists right now
mm,
in the Pakistani education,
true.
you know, scene. It's terrible. It's
Mm,
completely, so you can't blame the students. So
true.
the government needs to step in, or perhaps other NGOs need to step in to at least standards, give them some sort of standardization so that they
Mm,
can be, and not some below par standardization which is required. Something
mm,
which is at par with the rest of the world, which of course it's now everything is available at the click of a button. Even students sitting somewhere in a remote village is able to access net,
true.
or obviously, and they should be taught. They should be taught whatever. Are their minds any less or anything? No, they should be taught whatever other
Mm,
students or people or students of the larger cities or better privileged schools
true.
are being, whatever education or knowledge is being imparted to them. All right.
Good.
So
Just
that
as
is the
Farhana,
reason of the chaos.
just as you were sharing the
Mhm.
problem side, and in the solution side, you were sharing that government should step in or some sort of NGO should step in. Once they step in, what they have to do, what could be the baby step from where they can take a start in your perception?
The baby step is, it could be, I know it's easier said than done. I know it's
Mm,
always easier said than done. Imagining the imagining the disparity, the amount of disparity, the diversity which we face
mhm,
in the different. Not even the private schooling is concurring to a standardized curriculum. So
mm,
they first of all they need to standardize the curriculum, and the various these provincial educational boards, they need to sit down together,
mhm.
and they need to formulate a curriculum which is, perhaps, I think, I've heard the news that they are now going to implement a national curriculum which is going to be, I hope it is,
It's a
it's
big
in
thing.
step with the rest of the world.
Mm,
It's a big thing. It's a huge thing. So look at our, I that could be, that might be, thought of as a cliche. Look at our neighboring country like India, because we have the same problems. They have also been colonized, and we have pretty much been have gained independence at the same time.
mm,
But their public sector or their government schools are much better, and their curriculums are way higher, way up to the mark as compared to the ones which we are. Because in our public sector schools, there's a lack of trained teachers. B, there's no accountability. C, there's the curriculum itself is very perfunctory, and nobody
mm,
follows it. And again, the teaching strategies are extremely archaic,
mm,
outdated. They're still following the grammar translation method, which has been completely made
obsolete.
obsolete now. Nobody
Mm,
follows it anywhere.
mm,
All right. So again, since I'm a linguist, why are they teaching language, English language as a subject? It's supposed to be taught as a language. All right. It's a different thing. It's a
mm.
different thing.
Yeah, these are two opposite things.
It's a means of communication. It's a means of communication. All right. Teach it as a language when if people take English literature. All right. Not English language. Language should be taught as a language, as a
Mm,
means of communication. So they just translate it, and that is the entire purpose of it. Or they don't learn their essays or whatever. And
they
then
memorize
again,
it.
the they never revise it. They never revise it. Those stories, they have been going on since forever. I think since pre-partition they have been there. Even the intermediate curriculum, English intermediate curriculum, it has never been revised. Now
Mm,
perhaps in the national curriculum they might revise it, hopefully, and hoping for the best. I hope Imran Khan does.
yeah,
Our
true.
current prime minister should. He
Yeah,
looks like a visionary. Hopefully, he looks at that. Imagines very good and has something very clear in his mind, because this is an outcome of a very confused thinking. Whatever we are
mm,
seeing right now.
true.
So
All right. It's a
basically,
very
we
good.
need to
Mm,
train teachers. We need yeah,
so
standardized curriculum, and that too a curriculum that is at par with the rest of the world. All right.
great. Well, it's a very well said explanation. I must appreciate that because you have explored things which are, I mean, which are the reality, and people usually don't talk about that, or they don't understand that. They do feel it. This is the problem, and nobody is there to might be give us a solution for that. People do have the solution, but might be they don't have the power. But anyways, moving on. Now, if these all are the problems and we are the part of the system, now the point is why student is suffering. What would you suggest to the students? How can they get best out of this system that we have, and how they can make
See what
themselves
happens is,
productive and ready for the
okay.
market? No.
So it's basically what I would suggest, because I'm only dealing with the tertiary students,
Hmm.
obviously, and when they come to me, and as freshers or freshmen, or we call them freshies now.
Mm-hmm.
So to be, we are not anymore calling them freshmen, to be more, gender neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So freshies, when they come to us, first year students, I always suggest to them, because the students from intermediate background, though they are such smart students, but they cannot converse in English, or that again, but they cannot converse properly. But even if they have to converse in Urdu, they're not that confident that they can utter or be confident enough. But our course requires them to, there's writing and communication. The need to communicate. So there's a large part, or the component. There's a huge component of it is the class participation, CP part, which is the class participation part.
True.
So they need to, and I make them converse. I make them, speak up, so to say. I draw them out of their shells. So
Mm-hmm.
what I suggest to them is to start reading. That is the basic step which they need to do.
True.
Read as much as they can, because these days students have completely severed ties with the print media. Even if you have your mobiles, your gadgets, your devices, just start reading on that. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
suit, whatever you find interesting, even if it's sports, if it is, entertainment media, or whatever you are reading, even if it is just anime, just read about
Mm-hmm.
anime. All right, if you're too anime, what is anime? There's so many things going on about it.
Mm-hmm.
That is the baby step, the first baby step. Start
Great.
reading. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So even if you just read, start from one paragraph to two paragraphs, then start reading every day. Make it a point, and start learning new words. Just, we used to play a game with dictionaries in back in our day, when we never had these gadgets and everything. So what we used to collect dictionaries, and everyone had a dictionary, and we used to time ourselves up and find a new word, find a word. The word was,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, one person would, name the word, and then we had to find that word. I mean, imagine the
Mm-hmm.
exercise. Imagine we were going through the entire thesaurus or the dictionary, and our eyes are
Find that
looking
word
at
of
new words.
hmm.
As we go along, we were looking at that word, but in the process, we were also looking at so many other words.
True.
All
Good.
right.
Hmm.
So it was making us familiar with those words. We were not afraid to explore or dive into the
Hmm.
magical word of words. All right, which I call that. So these days, it's so handy to just. I have all the dictionaries in my. I still
Hmm.
use my dictionary. I tell that to my students. Learn new words. Make it a habit. Just learn new words. For start from 2 to 3 words every day. All right.
Hmm.
They have SATs. Learn them and start using them in your sentences. So I
Hmm.
think, at least as far as language is concerned, they can easily, improve that language. But for other things, just do not. There's this huge thing which is called critical thinking skill.
Hmm.
I mean, that they need to acquire. That needs to boil down to the grassroots level.
Hmm.
You know why this has been instilled? Why this rote learning method has been instilled? We have inherited it from the colonizers. All right.
Hmm.
It was their grammar translation method. Now they have shifted to critical thinking skills. We are still following that. All right.
True.
All right. We are still following that. So
Yeah.
question the obvious. Just do not accept anything on face value.
Hmm. Good.
All right. Two
So
plus
it means we
two
have to
need
analyze it,
not be, I know
explore
it's
it.
always four,
Hmm.
but it could be something else also. It could be something else. Think out of the box. Think out of
Good.
the box. Think creatively.
And that is how
Right?
we discover
That
new things.
the
Hmm.
moment they start, that is how you discover, become curious about it. Just do not say, oh, if the teacher is saying it might be right. Forget it. To the matter that ends the matter. They stop thinking on their own. The moment they start thinking on it, now they have the entire world available, accessible to them at the click of a button.
True.
Explore, research. This is the era of researching. That's it.
Well,
That's
Farhana,
the
these are really
best way they
good.
can.
These are really good suggestions to the student that they should, learn. They should explore. They should let the question rise in their mind. They should have critical thinking skill. They should explore. Curiosity is the key of learning. So
Curiosity.
it's not
Though
like
it
they are
always
only,
killed the cat, but this will
yeah.
kill the cat of your the rote
Hmm.
learning cat, not the good cat. All right, not the critical thinking
Might be the
cat.
cat
All
is the
right.
vicious one, so you have to kill that. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, true. So these were really good suggestions from your side, and I believe if we all start following these instructions, so if we all somehow develop the critical thinking skill, we somehow develop the curiosity in our own self, and we really, we get the hunger to get some new learning, not because we
Hunger.
have to
Exactly.
do or pass an exam. It's because we have to learn it, explore it,
Exactly.
vision. These are the things. Good.
And I say, how do we there's this dilemma again, why the student is so depressed. Most of the students these days are depressed. I've come
Hmm.
across students who are constantly anxious. Why? Because they're constantly running after marks. How do you get these bucket load of marks these days? We never used to have these sort of marks.
True.
We never used to have any tuitions or anything. But we were just
1040 or
studying for
1050.
to learn things. Exactly.
Hmm.
And do you think standardized testing is a measure of your intelligence? No. You might be having a bad day. On that bad day, you're tested. Should you be labeled as a person who is a dumb person? Never. You could never be. You might have some other aptitude. You
True.
may not be a mathematical whiz kid, or you may not be. You may have exam anxiety. People do have
Hmm.
it. Students
True.
have most of the students have exam anxiety. It's a condition. Can
Hmm.
you name them any less than other students who can sail through such exams?
True.
This is unfair. It's really
Yeah,
unfair.
you're right.
All
Well,
right.
Farhana, thank you so very much for your time, for your suggestion, for
You're
your
welcome.
ideas, for everything that you have said and you have shared with us, even your experiences and everything. And I hope so. This was really good listening to you, and I hope so. This would also give the benefit to the viewers as well. Thank you so very much for
I
your
hope so
time.
too.
Inshallah, it will.
You're welcome. It was
So,
lovely talking to you,
likewise,
Farhan,
Farhana.
and thank you for inviting me.
A player is all
All right.
mine. Take care, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.